All righty. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miss Emily. I'm from the Jersey City Free Public Library. And thank you for coming to today's afternoon story time and meet the author, Miss Priya Kumari. So I'm super excited to be hosting this program this afternoon. Miss Priya is a local author from New Jersey, and she's written some terrific books that we are very excited to have here at the library. We have a ton of them on order, so they're not here yet, but they should be here soon. So we're very excited, and we have one of her books here, The ABCs of Virtue, that Miss Priya will read to us this afternoon. And after the talk, the story time, Miss Priya is going to talk a little bit about the publishing process and what it's like to write a book and to get it into libraries and in the hands of our community. And afterwards, we're going to do a craft for Holi. So Holi was a holiday that happened about 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very colorful, very festive holiday. And Miss Priya is going to do a craft for Holi. So thank you for joining us. And I am going to hand it away to Miss Priya.
Thank you, Emily, for introducing me. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today with Jersey City Library to read one of my stories, which is The ABCs of Virtue. And I'll also talk about publishing process, and then we'll do a fun craft. So please stay with me. And so I am a children's book author, and I'm a publisher as well. So what it means is I write books, and then I make them into book to make it available to people. So what a author does is write a book. What an illustrator does, so the illustrator of my book is Maitri Ghosh, and what she does is paint the pictures. So what pictures you see here is illustrated by Maitri Ghosh, and the illustrations can be digital or they can be handmade on paper with paint, watercolor, acrylic. So these are digital art. What that means is it's painted on computer. So she took an iPad, there is an app Procreate, she used that to paint this on a computer screen instead of a paper. So what my book has is digital art done by Maitri Ghosh, written by Priya Kumari and Komal Garg, and published by Eternal Tree Books, which is my company. What I do is I get authors, I find illustrators, I make what author wrote into a book and make it available to the market for people to buy it, for libraries to buy it, for bookstores to buy it. So that's what a publisher does. And we look into the process of bookmaking later. So right now, let's start with reading the book, The ABCs of Virtue, an alphabetic guide to finding the magic in you. So like what the name says, it's about good qualities, virtue that we should have in us. And then it gives examples of each of the virtue to explain what it means. And to read it, I think this way will be a little difficult. So let me share my screen with you so that you can see the PDF version of the book and it's easier for you to follow with me. So give me 1 sec and I'll share my screen. So is it visible?
Yep, we can see.
Yeah. So the book is written by Priya Kumari and Komal Garg, illustrated by Maitri Ghosh. As I told, illustrator is a person who paints the pictures in the book. We dedicate this book to all children who are the hope and future of the world. May you discover your magical inner selves and have a fulfilling experience of life. A is for active. Be active and move about every day. To stay strong and healthy, go outside and play. B is for brave. Being brave means trying things that are hard, like climbing up walls or tall trees in the yard. C is for confident. Confident people can show they are not weak They are never afraid to just stand up and speak. D is for dutiful. Our duties are all of the things we must do, like doing our homework and cleaning up too. So Emily, are you able to see the Facebook Live questions or anything we are having? Like, because I am not able to see those.
Okay, yes, I'll check.
Yeah, so like I'm on Zoom view, so I'm not able to see anything. So if you can check on that, we can also cover questions if there are any during the story reading or later, whatever suits. E is for ethical. An ethical person can tell right from wrong, like giving lost items to whom they belong. So the picture is also explaining the example which is given in the second line, like giving lost items to whom they belong. So that is what is explained in the picture, like someone is giving back the purse of someone. F is for friendly. Showing you're friendly means sharing a grin and playing with others no matter their skin. G is for generous. A generous person is giving, not greedy. They donate their toys to help those who are needy. H is for honest. A person who is honest is free and they are fair. They always speak truth to make others aware. I is for imaginative. Imaginative people make something new. They find new ideas as they play with their crew. See, being imaginative is very fun. We don't need anything to play with. We can just come up with ideas, fun ideas to spend our time beautifully. And here we see kids playing with cardboard. They made, probably you can think it as a glider, an airplane, or a boat with a pirate flag or anything. We can be imaginative in thinking what is shown in the illustrations. J is for jovial. A jovial person is full of good cheer. They find joy and happiness in every sphere. K is for kind. Having a kind heart means showing you care, offering help to your friends everywhere. L is for loving. People with loving hearts care for us all. They love every being, the short and the tall. M is for mindful. Being more mindful means being aware. Notice the feelings and thoughts everywhere. N is for neighborly. Show that you're neighborly. Always say hi. Share with your neighbors when you make a pie. O is for organized. Organized people like making a plan. They put things in order the best that they can. P is for patient. Patience means waiting without being hasty. You must wait a while for a cake that is tasty. Q is for questioning. Questioning people can find out what's true with answers that teach them about something new. R is for responsive. A responsive person's ear hears every sound. They help those in need everywhere, all around. Excuse me. S is for strong. 1 second. Eat up your veggies to go big and strong. Healthy food choices make life nice and long. T is for thankful. A person who's thankful appreciates you. Go thank a teacher for all that they do. U is for understanding. People who understand know how you feel. They give helping hands and support to help heal. V is for valorous. Valorous people stand up for what's right, like heroes who fight crime with all their might. W is for wise. A wise person knows when to listen or speak. They read lots of books because it's answers they seek. X is for think out of the box. When you are stuck, think out of the box. A boat made of feathers or carry of blocks. Sorry, excuse me. I think something stuck my throat.
Oh, no problem.
Y is for yogic. Yogic means merging your smile and strength. Close your eyes tight and then stretch your length. Z is for zealous. A person who's zealous supports a good cause, like helping the world protect nature's laws. So that's it with the story. And we'll now move on to how the book was made. I'll stop sharing. Yeah. And Emily, do you see any questions?
No questions yet, but I have it on, I'm monitoring. But yeah, what a great story. And before we talk about bookmaking, I want to just say all the reasons why I love this book. Well, I love that it teaches the concepts of the alphabet. So little ones know the ABCs, and you have the rhyming, which helps with the language development in little ones. And on top of that, all of the ways that we can shape our young people into being great people, which is very powerful. So it's a great book to add to your collection. So be sure to check it out from the library. And yeah, okay. So yeah, Miss Priya, if you want to talk a little bit about your process, because I know you weren't always a children's author. You have an interesting story and path that I'm sure folks will love to hear about.
Yeah, so actually by profession, I'm a CA from India, which is Chartered Accountant, and a CPA. So I did my CPA here. I was working with Big Fours. And then being a daughter of a bookstore owner from India, I was always passionate about reading and writing. And after my kids were born, I was transitioning into writing books for them, mainly on Indian culture and values. And then somehow I transitioned into writing and publishing.
Yeah, that's great. And it's interesting how you went from math and counting all the way to writing, and that whole process. It's a whole different part of your brain, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not easy to make a career shift, but then when you're passionate about something, things will always fall in place if you work towards it. So that's what happened with me. And now I have 3 books, like 2 books written by me, which is published, and 2 other books which I published, and 3 more will be published this year. So yeah, a lot many books.
Yeah, that's great. And then, so how does it start? So when you were first starting writing books, how did that, how do you first get started?
So actually, I was always writing. Like as a child also, I was writing stories and stuff. And then when my kids were born, I was writing. I was making Hindi books for them basically because I wanted to teach my language to them. And then somehow it struck me that that Hindi book which I was making, the activity book, should come out in the market because there are no fun learning languages book in the market right now. I started with that, but that is still in process. And so many others came out which I wrote before that. So yeah, the idea of publishing came from that book, the Hindi book. Sorry, Emily, I think a row of coughing started suddenly. So first what I'll do is I'll make the craft so that it helped me takes a break. And while I'm explaining the craft and doing the craft, and then I can come back to talking about how the book was made.
Great, sounds good. Yeah, so Miss Priya is going to teach us a Holi craft. And yeah, I hope your throat feeling.
Because of the changing weather, I think allergies and stuff, it's been bad for our health. One day it's 60s and the other days it's 20s.
Yeah.
So that fluctuation is causing so many allergies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me start with the Holi craft. So I'll tell you the supplies. So we are making a colorful, happy Holi. You can do it as a card or a poster or anything you want. So I made it like a poster. How? So for that, we'll need a paper, a thick paper. So I'm using a watercolor paper. You can use watercolor and a brush, or to make it more fun, instead of brush, we can use a spray bottle if you have. Because kids love spraying, right? So you can use a spray bottle. And instead of watercolors, you can use a bleeding tissue. So these are tissue papers, but which bleeds on the paper. So when you put them on water, they'll just leave their color and make it a very colorful art. So these are good if you have them. If you don't have them, nothing to worry. You can use a simple watercolor and a brush. And one thing we need is a white crayon. Any white crayon will do. Not color pencil, but crayon. So that we can do a magic painting which says Happy Holi. So if you want to make a card, you can just fold it. Or you can make a poster like I did this one. So I'm making a card. I'll just fold a paper and then using a crayon, I'll write Happy Holi or anything for that matter you want to write. But we are celebrating Holi here. So I'm writing Happy Holi. Make it a little dark so that it's visible after you paint it. So it's magic painting, so you won't be able to see it now. So done. See, I wrote such beautiful Happy Holi. Can you see it? We'll wait for it to show up. So after this, either we take a brush and water and start putting water on it, or we use watercolor. Like if you have the bleeding tissue, just put water. If you have watercolors, start coloring it. What will happen is everything will be colored except the crayon part. And if you have a spray bottle, you can just spray the water here. And then I'm using tissues for now because the colors are very vibrant. And I'm placing it on the water so that they bleed. You can put it in any pattern, no fixed rule. It's the spring festival of colors, Indian festival, which is Holi. So it's all about flowers, celebrating nature, colors around and the nature. So anything colorful works. If there is not enough water to make the tissue bleed, I'll just dab it with more water or spray it with more water. Anything works. If you are using watercolors, just paint with watercolor and make patches so that it's colorful. Don't paint the whole thing, but make patches like this. And then use a different color here. And try to make it deep and vibrant. Wherever there is not enough water for the tissue to bleed, I'm spraying more water. It's not visible, right? So it's good that we are doing craft now, because while I'll give the presentation, the craft will be dried, the art will be dried, and we can show how it came. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Oh,
I'm a strong believer of whatever happens is for good. So yeah, the card is all covered. We let it dry. And if it's watercolor, then you let the watercolor dry. Make patches like this. And when it dries, we'll come back to it. So I'll place it in the corner. And meanwhile, we'll go back to our presentation on how the book is made.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
Let
excited
me.
to look like.
Sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I'm excited to see what it'll look like.
Yeah. It's one of the favorite crafts of my kids. So it's all-time favorite. Just taking spray and making any art out of bleeding tissues. You can make different shapes and color those with these bleeding tissues.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And for folks that are watching, if you don't have tissue paper, you could visit the Five Corners Library, ask for Miss Emily and say, I saw Miss Priya's program. May I please have some tissue paper? And we'll give you some.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot here.
So I'll share the presentation now. Yeah, is it visible?
Perfect.
Yeah, these are the some of my unpublished and published books. I'm the founder of Eternal Tree Books. My website is eternaltreebooks.com. So this is the Hindi book, Mere Hindi Akshar, which I was talking. This is how my journey of publishing started. This is the first book which I thought that I should publish. And it is taking a while to get it designed and putting it out in the market. Meanwhile, the books which I wrote before that are now published. So the ABCs of Virtue, which I read today, was actually a kind of DIY poster which I made for my kids' room, where with each letter I wrote virtues for them to learn. And then it became a book now. And my Holi, this is my Diwali book, and my Holi book also will come out at the end of this year. So let's start with the writing process, how I wrote the book as an author. So there was an idea, obviously. If I'm thinking what to write, I got an idea that I should write something around ABCs of Virtue, with each letter and a virtue related, starting with that letter. And then I started writing a draft. We can do it on computer, we can do it on paper. For me, always paper works better. So I was writing on a piece of paper. A is for active, B is for brave, D is for beautiful, C is for zealous, all these things. And then I was writing poem, rhyme to go with it, like what to go with it. I was thinking, brainstorming, what can I write along with it so that kids can understand the meaning of that word. And after the draft was written, so the first draft, I was sure about the words beforehand, because like I told you, it was a DIY poster for my kids. So the words were already there for me. What wasn't there, what will go with the words. So now I was writing that. So the first thing I wrote was, A is for active, keep doing fun things. So it was a single line. And then I thought I should make it a fun rhyme, because kids love rhyme, right? And that way I'll also have more room to play around with words. Probably I can give example, I can give meaning. So I write, active and healthy you stay, step out with friends to play. Again, I was improving and editing and researching, like what better I can do with my rhyme. I wrote, be active, move and healthy you stay. Let's step out with friends to play. But again, this rhyme wasn't perfect, and I was improving it. So the final rhyme, which you see in the book, is be active and move about every day to stay strong and healthy. Go outside and play. So what a writer does is they have an idea, they write a draft, and they keep on improving and editing it until they are happy with it. Like, yes, this is something I'm happy with and is ready to go in the book. After I did that, we go for a professional editing. So what that means is that person is a professional editor. They improve the book. They check for grammatical errors. Now, editing can be of various kinds. They can help you improving the rhymes. They can help you just check for errors, the grammar, if there is period in correct places, if there are commas in correct places, if you're using capital letters in right places. So all that is done by a professional editor, because as an author, I do my best to make everything correct. But obviously we can miss sometimes, right? So there are these people, professional editors, who do that for living. So they work on it day and night, and they know what to look for in a children's book or novel. So there are specific editors for each field. So I went to my editor, I gave them the book, the draft, and they helped me improve it. So after the writing is done, now what do we need? We need to think what will go with the written part, the paintings, what should be drawn for that. So as an author, what I do is I'll make a Word document like this, where I'll write the lines, and then I'll write in the yellow what are my thoughts, what will go on that page. So this is not for ABCs of Virtue. This is for my other book, Leaf Talks piece. For this one, I didn't have that paper. Why? Because it was not a story. It was single letter, and each letter had different like illustrations. They were not related to each other. So we were always discussing one by one. But usually for a story, you'll always paginate and write it together before going to an illustrator, what you have in mind, like you see here. So like what if there is this line, hi, my name is Harmony, what will go on page? There'll be a people leaf, a character, peaceful expressions, everything which is there in my mind, I'll write it on a piece of paper so that the illustrator knows what thoughts I have, and then start from there as an author. And then I'll go about finding an illustrator. So usually it's the publisher who finds the illustrator. For me, I am the publisher and I'm the author. So I go about finding the illustrator. And then you connect to many illustrators, you get samples for them and see if the artwork goes with the book well. So I had few samples. And finally, I liked Maitri Ghosh's work, and she sent me 2 samples. Like there is one, we can make K for kind like this in a blueprint, in a blue background, and one we can make in a white background. And then we have to choose what goes well with the book and the theme and what we have in our mind as a publisher and an author. And we went with white background, which you see in the book. So the entire book, you will see the illustrations show diverse characters and with the white backgrounds. So after that, after the sample, we make a storyboard usually. For a story, we always have a storyboard in place. Like they make thumbnails of each page and what each page will look like. For this one, we didn't have a storyboard because it's not a story. It's individual letters and it's individual drawings. So we didn't require that. But usually we'll have a storyboard like this, with just line drawings and where the words and where the pictures will go, so that the author and the illustrator, the publisher, all have the ideas of what is going to come out of the book. At this point, making changes is the easiest. You can erase and make whatever and redo. And now, after we have discussed storyboard and everything is final, we come to individual illustrations. How an illustrator draws an individual illustration is very, very interesting. So it's a process. So first, they will share the sketch, a line drawing. At this stage, if we don't like anything, we can just say that maybe the fence isn't right, just delete the fence and make like this, or probably the hair isn't right, probably the dress isn't right, or instead of pie, I need a cake. So anything, any changes you need, we can make very easily because it's just erasing on the screen and redrawing it. And then after that is done, comes the basic colors, the color scheme, not the detail, but the basic color scheme, like what dress, what background, what colors should be there. So that is step 2, which you can see here. And then other details. And the last is shadows and textures. So this is when everything comes to life, because shadows and textures are the time when everything start looking 3D. So if you compare these steps like 3 and 4, you'll see the difference. Here the boy is standing. You don't feel like the boy is standing out, like it doesn't look 3D. It's like it's part of the paper. But in the second one, when you see with the shades, it looks like the boy is standing and then the girl is standing beside him. So shadows, textures are very, very important for a picture to look 3D. We'll stop here for a moment and I'll share a time-lapse video with you to show how these pictures were made. I'll show one or two. What the illustrator does it, they can record this screen while drawing a picture. So my illustrator recorded the screen so that I can share. So that will give you a idea around how it was made. Let me open it and then I'll share it with you.
Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very popular presentation among children, like especially it's very nice for all ages, but especially 4-5-year-old who read a lot of books and then knowing about how it is made, it's very fascinating for them.
Yeah, even as a librarian, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, I'll share my screen. There are so many things we use every day and then we don't realize what goes on behind making it, right? Let me share the entire thing. Yeah, you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
You can see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, see. So always the first illustration is the toughest because that time we don't know what we are expecting from each other, right? The illustrator and the author. So there, in this one, you will see a lot of changes being made. So see, here the illustration is almost complete and then we change the hairstyle. Again, things are changing. And then here, you can also see how we were changing the A on the top, like we were trying different ways how we should make it, see? And then the fine. Were you able to see that? So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, so the first illustration, there are quite a few changes which happens. And then later it gets easier because we already know the color palette, we already know what kind of characters we need. So there are not many changes. You can see the other one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so this one. So these are the two time-lapse video which I wanted to share. And then let's go back to the presentation. So now my presentation is visible.
Yes.
Yeah. And then few publishers like to do covers before everything is done. For me, I always like to do cover later because I now have all the illustrations in front of me. And then I try to leverage those illustrations on cover. So whatever I like best, I put that on cover and then we play around with fonts and back cover and everything. So this is the cover. And as you can see, the illustration is from I is for imaginative. Then what does a publisher do? So as in the beginning, I told you that publisher makes words of an author into a book. So what does they do? They accept a manuscript from an author like, yes, this is what we want to publish. And then they edit it from a professional editor. They do the legal formalities around making a book. So there are many legal formalities which we need to do, something called copyright, that this is written by me and Komal. So no one can say that this is written by them. So that authority copyright gives us. So this is our work. So there is a copyright formality. Then there is this number which you see in the book back. That is called the ISBN number, which is like an identification number for the book, which we never even realize a book has an identification number as a reader, right? So like we have an SSN, the books have ISBN, so that you know every book is unique and you can easily just type that number in Google and that book will come up. So there is no other book with that ISBN. It's a unique identification number for each book that the publisher does. Then there is a unique identification number, which library gives us, Library of Congress, which is LCCN, that a publisher gets. And there are many more formalities, the contracts in place with author, the illustrator, everything is done by a publisher. Then the illustrator they find the illustrator, they get the illustration done. And the final part is the designing. So even after illustration, there are so many other things that book needs to have, right? The cover, what things will go where. So you can see here, there is some info, here there is some info, here there is some. So who designs that? A publisher gets that design from a designer. And then there is a dedication page, or there is a normal book. This is a board book, so it has copyright and at the back, but usually a book will have a page for copyright, that page. So everything is done by a publisher. And the final part, after the book is ready, now what? Should we keep it with us? So we make it available. So the purpose of bookmaking is to make it available for the readers to get it, right? So now the major task which a publisher handles is the marketing and publicity, distribution, marketing and publicity of a book, making it available for bookstores, libraries, and buyers, like they can get from Amazon, from Barnes and Nobles, from any other store, Target, Costco. You see them everywhere, right? Books are everywhere. So who makes them available there? It's the publisher. And then how do you know the book is available there, that this book exists? That happens through marketing and publicity, through ads and through news and so many other stuff, right? So that's when, that's also done by publisher. Mostly publicity can also be handled by author, because author does author events. So I, like as an author, what I'm doing now is like an author event, right? I'm reading you the book. So author also gets publicity for their book doing author events. So now more and more people will know about their book through these events. So that is done by author also, author and illustrators also. So yeah, and so the bookmaking is done. And if Emily, if we have any questions, we can take that.
Awesome. That was great. Yeah, I see no questions in the chat, but I was curious, your favorite stage of the writing process. If you have
favorite stage, I think for me, the thought part is the best thing. Like you have that thought, right? You want to write on that. That is very, very special. For each book, how did that thought come? So that is my favorite part. And after that, it's like you write it. Writing is very simple. You usually finish it so fast for a picture book, but then improving and editing and making it marketable is the part where you put so much of effort, and then comes the illustration. So the thought is always special. Like for this book, the thought came from my kids. Like I wanted them to know so many good values, and we always have a chart, a board in our books, in our house, in our kids' room, saying A for apple, B for boy. And I didn't want that. Instead of that, I wanted A for active, B for brave. So I put that. So that thought is very special. So yeah, as a writer, that is the best part.
That's great. Yeah, and it must be exciting to see an idea become a reality and to be in the hands of kids. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure watching this chat, you'll inspire lots of kids to write books one day.
Yeah, and now I see so many children's authors, like so many of them writing their books and publishing their books. And it's so wonderful to see that, right? Because it gives them self-confidence right away. So yeah, like, and attending writing workshops with kids, it's always heartwarming to see so many young writers coming into the space, because this is a field where you'll see. So when you go to a career event, you You go there and you ask how many people want to become a doctor, how many people want to become an engineer, firefighter, which is like very, very hit when you go to a kid's classroom. But you will not hear many authors or publishers in the room. But now we see more and more. So that is very nice, because yeah, that is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially having books about different holidays and cultures, being able to have that in the library
Yes.
is very special and meaningful.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
yeah.
it's so important, right? We are living in such a diverse community. Knowing about each other is a way we can promote harmony. So like my book, one of my book, Leaf Talks Peace, which is here. So it talks about harmony and peace. And it's a great way. Books are a great way to promote that, so that we know about each other's culture, and then not hurt anyone's sentiment unknowingly also.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, we're excited to have your books in our library.
Thank you so much.
We're very honored.
The honor is mine. Like, oh my God, it's very. I'm very grateful to Jersey City Library to give me this opportunity to read my book, talk about the publishing process, and then as a writer, what gives me the most happiness is to see people reading the book. And having the book in library is where you get the most readers, right? It's not about the sales, but it's about the readers. Now probably 100 kids will read my book, unlike if they get from Barnes and Noble or Amazon. Probably if there are three siblings will read my book. And now if the library gets it, 100 kids will read the book. So I'm very, very, very grateful to Jersey City Library to stock my book. And so, like, I can't wait to get feedback. If you have any, do share with me when it's stocked and people share with you. As a local author, it means the world to me.
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that. Great. So we have a couple minutes left, and I know we have to see our holy craft and what that looks like.
Yeah. I have almost white part in the middle. So I missed few patches in the middle. If I
Oh my
didn't miss this
goodness, so
patch,
cool.
yeah. So usually it'll look like this if you don't miss any patches. So yeah.
Wow, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's like a magic painting. And for little kids, you don't even have to tell them that you wrote this, right? You can write anything you want. It can be for any holiday. And then when they put the tissues or the watercolor, they'll see, oh, wow, there's something written.
That's great. It's like a little surprise once it dries.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that skill. I'm excited to use that craft in the library as well.
Yeah. It's a easy craft. It's easy to prepare. It's easy to clean. So yeah, it's good for parents.
Yeah, that's great. Easy cleanup is always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So before we go, be sure to visit the library and check out lots of books. And once we get our books from Miss Priya, you can check those out and share them with your friends and family as well. And yeah, feel free to pass along this video with your community. It was great to learn about the process. I had no idea, so it was great for me to learn too. And I really admire your ability to not only change careers, but start something completely new. That's very brave, which is B. So good, that's great. And yeah, so big thank you to Miss Priya.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoy the video.
Thank you, everyone.